Hello and welcome. I'm Joanna Junak and this is GFN News on gfn.tv. Thailand's approach to vaping is very strict. And despite discussions around harm reduction, the government maintains its position against allowing the sale or use of e-cigarettes in the country. Thai authorities justify this decision with concerns about public health and state that e-cigarettes can be a gateway for younger generation to start smoking. Asa Saligupta, director of End Cigarette Smoke Thailand, is joining us today to explain the reasons and implications of the government's position on public health in the country. Hello, Asa. Could you please explain the current laws on vaping in Thailand? When the ban started, why it was introduced, and what the consequences are for breaking the rules?
The ban started about approximately 11 years ago. It started because of the prime minister back then. At that time, he worried about, he went around and it was, chicha was quite spreading, quite famous and quite popular among tourists. But he was worried about the youth and the children, because chicha has got flavors and whatnot. So he said he asked the cabinet to look into chicha, but the health department and the people in control said well, let's include tobacco harm reduction, that include electronic chicha and electronic cigarette in the verse as well, while using scientific facts on chicha alone. So chicha is combustible plus flavors. So of course it was deemed more dangerous and more addictive than regular combustible cigarettes. So hence the ban on electronic cigarettes. And on the fine or what happened to those who break the laws, there were fees, and who actually broke the law. Actually who breaks the law was fees and imprisonment. But we have to go back and look at what the laws said. The law said, the first law that came out said that you cannot import. That's it. So no, you cannot import electronic cigarette, plus chicha and electronic cigar. So vaping was banned. Importation of vape devices and everything was banned because there's no tax. So you cannot. It was like tax avoidant. And then the Department of Consumer Protection came out, say you cannot distribute. So those are the two laws that exist up until today, had not been updated or anything yet. So it is illegal to import and also illegal to distribute. And that was it. But the problem that occurred was there are some let me say it, bad, quote unquote, bad officials. They're trying to see the loopholes of the laws, and they will say okay, if you possess illegal items, which actually vaping devices actually are not, in a word, are not illegal items. It's illegal to import, and like I said, illegal to distribute, but it's not an illegal product per se. So you can possess it, and you can also use it. It's not illegal to possess and to use it. But of course there are loopholes, and so the underground market had grown much since, and of course along comes bribery and whatnot. So, pretty much that should answer your question.
You mentioned the black market. So what does it look like?
Before, when actually it was in the void 11 more than 11 years ago, right? Before 11 years ago, before they announced the ban. And after that, people who quit smoking because they use vape instead, they gotta find something else, so we start searching around, and there are people still bringing in those same old distributors, the sellers, and the market was still there. We used to be able to go to a department store to get vape items, and then those department stores were gone. The shop in the department stores were gone. So we have to look around, we search around, we have to Google it and whatnot. But it was still there. It was easy. There are very large communities, lots of large communities here. You can go to Facebook, Instagram, and here one of the application that was really famous is called Line. And there are Line group. One of the biggest Facebook group, it was closed, unfortunately. There were about 500,000 members belong to that group, all vapers. And then, and it's called Thai Vape Market. But of course, it goes against community rule of Facebook, so it had to be shut down, because you can find anything there. And of course, you can go to flea market and if you know where. And of course, vapers, we know where to go, so we can still find. But after this new government, the new crackdown, after we went through, like I should mention, I was part of the committee to amend the laws on electronic cigarettes. And we probably have some good news soon. But, it was a storm before the calm. So there was a big crackdown. So right now, it's more difficult to find vape items or THI in general. So it's more difficult. It doesn't mean that it's impossible, and the price has gone up. Of course, the underground, the black market took this opportunity to raise the price because, since you can't find it, it's a loss of supply and demand.
And what is the general public's reaction to vaping in Thailand?
In general, it's really, people are split. It's either pro or against. Either you're for it, but mostly from what I've seen and what I've heard, we have our own small organizations, we have our own communities, and then we started spreading words around, saying like, hey, listen, I'm not saying that vaping is 100% safe, but it is definitely safer. Definitely safer, and the main reason is it's not combustible. There's no combustion, and so since if smoking is allowed, why not let us choose? And then you can come out with your, whatever rule, laws, regulations, saying like, hey, you cannot vape in public places, just like smoking. You can up the minimum age of smokers and vapers. Do it the same way. You cannot sell to minors, and all these rule laws, regulations. Plus, you can control the quality of vape items, especially the liquids and everything that comes out. And most people kind of agree. And now we are quite happy to see that there are a lot of people whom, they are not, pro or against vaping, but still they come out and defend, like say, hey, just, it's their life, just let them choose. So it's getting much better traction and point of view from the public.
So, to give people a better understanding of the health benefits of using safer alternatives to quit smoking, have any studies been conducted on their impact in the country?
You cannot really, because like once there are scientists and professors trying to do studies on vaping, but of course there are big lobbyists, big people. I don't want to use the word mafia, but there are people who's backing all the prohibition of vaping, and they say like, hey, listen, you cannot do any uh, scientific study because it's illegal. So you cannot do it, but they can. So the scientific and quote unquote really scientific studies that came from them came from UCSF and other universities that are anti-THR, and they use like their connections and doing the same kind of things, like nicotine in you drop nicotine in rats and rats die, like all of us kind of familiar with that. And we ask like, so what kind of strength, because if you use pure nicotine, I mean, not even rats, elephants gonna die. Like, so it really doesn't make sense. So for those who try to do scientific researches, they will be blocked and banned, and some of them got. I know some personal friends of mine who was a PhD, a doctor. He tried to do some research on vaping, and he got called personally. They said like, that will be the end of that will be the end of your career if you keep on doing this. So he had to stop.
Asa, in this case, I have to ask, how developed is tobacco harm reduction in the country?
Tobacco. When you want to use the word tobacco harm reduction, it's still the same old says, it's quit or die. It's the tobacco control people, the Thailand tobacco control in total control. And of course, they have like right now there's also another friend of mine who's used to be a House representative, and right now he's digging in like the quit smoking call. You can dial a certain number, and it's spent like millions of dollars budget for just like, I don't know, a few hundred calls, or even not even 100 calls. And so it's a waste of budget. And but these are people who doing THR, and they're not looking at real fact and evidence. It just have to be their way or no way. And of course, they always present with they come up with the presentation of a new way of doing a pharmaceutical way. They would go to the parliament and showing the new medicine that hadn't even come out yet. And I'm going like, we were going like, if it hadn't come out, how did you have it? How is it in your pocket? I said, oh, this is the new product. I said like, so how could you have it? So these are kind of the things that kind of like raise question, but that question kind of go nowhere.
So, how does your organization work to provide a better understanding of safer alternatives to smoking?
Well, personally, I would usually I would have my we would pass around. We have our own Facebook group, which we have. Fortunately, we have about over 100,000 members or followers. I also have my own personal YouTube channel that we would do a live show on Saturday evening, Thailand time. And So we would spread around because like there would be a lot, like I mentioned before, there will be a lot of people got arrested and they will come and ask like what is illegal, what is not illegal, what is good, what is bad, what should we do, what should be done, and especially if we have communities, we can spread around like how to correctly use the vape items. I mean, we're not talking about disposable as easy, but like some of the old-fashioned, how to do the coil, how to raise temperature correctly, what kind of temperature, wattage, and everything else. So we kind of like come in and exchange our knowledge, and between that, I spread the word around and say like, okay, here's the laws. So don't be a victim of corrupted officials, right? You have to know the laws, no matter what, and not in THR, not in cigarette, not in vaping, but in everything else, in driving, in everything. So if you know the laws, you won't be victims. So we kind of like we have exchange, and then I have a few friends who come in and join me, and sometimes we have senators and House representatives come in and join us and explain how the laws are going. And right now, after this, we already have concluded our committees. The session had been concluded, and there are 3 options that we handed into the government. The cabinet, everything is done. So the 3 options are definitely we have to amend the laws. The first option was to be stricter, which out of 35 members of the committees, there are like 7 votes. The second option was just to lift the ban on heat not burn, and there was about 5 votes, and about 22, I think, 22 other members going for totally lift the ban with laws and regulations covering all important areas, especially to deter youth and nicotine naive person. So of course, we don't want people to become addictive to anything, not even just for youth, but even for adults. So those are to be seen, but it had already been into the government, and there are steps. They have to do the budgets and everything else, but hopefully things will come out in our favor finally after over a decade.
Okay, so my last question, Asa. Why is Thailand so strict about vaping when some other countries promote it as a safer option for people to quit smoking?
Prices, maybe. One of the main what's the word, the main one of the main person behind it, he had been working anti-tobacco for, I think he just celebrated 40 years. So he just keep on going and going and going, and he's looking at vaping. Even I don't think he understands. He's quite aged, and I don't think in the end he understands what THR means. And it's also our fault, using the word electronic cigarette. So once it comes into the market about 20 years ago, right, and over 20 years ago, he probably looked at it and say like, another form of cigarette must be under big tobacco. Let's do something against it. So I think that's what started, like how serious it is. And many people don't even know this, but the hub of Article 5.3 of COP, FCTC COP is right here in Bangkok, in Thailand. So it's quite important.
Thank you, Asa. That's all for today. Tune in next time here on GFN TV or on our podcast. And make sure to check out our social media pages for the latest updates on this year's Global Forum on Nicotine conference. Thanks for watching or listening. See you next time.